Previously on Gears.
So let's talk a little bit of Formula One. But before we get there, there's a huge amount of disrespectful tweets that are going around on social media networks about the state of former President Nelson Mandela. There is nothing official at this stage from the authorities, the people that we believe will be announcing any kind of news, whether it be progress or whether it not be progress. So, you know what? Just chill out. This is not a race to see who breaks the news first and gets some glory. This is about a man, about a person. How would you like it if somebody was tweeting that about your family? I think it's very disrespectful. Let's get on to the world of Formula One. Of course, you heard it earlier in our news reports. The big news that has come out today, Mark Webber will be leaving the Red Bull Racing team at the end of the season to continue in the LMP1 sports car program with Porsche next year. Now, for those of you who don't know, Porsche have got a new LMP1 car called the P1, which will be racing up against the likes of Audi and Toyota and perhaps even Nissan with their Delta Wing electric car next year as well. If you are watching now, hopefully, well, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes. So get on to Ball's website. If you're just listening, get onto the visual feed as well, because I'm going to play you something that happened to Mark Webber back in 1999. Just so that you know, Mark Webber does come from Le Mans and sports car racing. So in a way, he's going back to where he started. And I think it's terrific for him. I think, with all due respect, I think he's had enough of Red Bull and the way things have gone there, which I believe now is going to leave little Sebastian Vettel in a little precarious situation, because Mark Webber is now going out, flat out for glory for himself. And rightly so. I don't think he's going to be looking at team orders. He's not going to be, and we know from after Malaysia, I don't think he's going to be looking that as well. But I think Mark Webber is now going to sit there and say, you know what, I've got 9 races, 10 races left in the season. I'm now going to enjoy myself, go for it. I don't have really that much pressure on me. So watch out for this man, especially this coming weekend as well. That's the big news. Other news, Red Bull's boss, Christian Horner, has declared that the Mercedes test penalty, of course, was too lenient. Now, if you watched Absolute F1 last night, we had a go at it as well, saying, I mean, it's just, it really is a slap on the wrist, and, oh, you can't go to the young drivers test. We were talking about it last night on the show and saying there's going to be this young drivers test, which is a 3-day test for the young drivers of the Formula One teams to show their skills. Whether or not this is really advantageous to the actual drivers of the team is very debatable. So, just as Mercedes decided to put Lewis Hamilton, thank you, and Nico Rosberg in the cars for the test after Barcelona and put them in different helmets, I suggested, and we suggested, all of us last night, is sitting and saying, well, why don't you put the likes of Sebastian Vettel and Mark Webber in the car, but with the test drivers' helmets on, or put Alonso and Massa in the car with the test drivers' helmets on. They might as well try and get the maximum out of this. It's just crazy that they were found guilty of doing something, and yet the punishment is so lenient. I don't think it's going to go away that easily, and we've seen massive strides already for Mercedes. So a bit of a damn squid and a little bit of a farce, in my opinion, as to what happened. So Christian Horner has broken his silence. He didn't say much prior to today, but he said what he's slightly confused is the leniency of the problem of the penalty. He said the problem with the penalty, such as the one Mercedes have been given, is that it is not a particularly strong deterrent to break the sporting regulations. I think it was met with a huge sigh of relief at Brackley, and that is at Mercedes-Benz headquarters. Now think about it. If you are Ferrari or Red Bull and you've seen such a significant increase in doing 1,000 kilometers of testing, then you know what you're going to do, Daisy. What you're going to do is you're going to say to Pirelli, I need 10 sets of tires, thank you very much, deliver them to me, and go and do your own test. And then everyone says, oh, but you did it illegally. And you say, okay, well, what are you going to do? What kind of penalty are you going to do? All you gave is Mercedes young driver test. So, fine. Why don't Ferrari Red Bull, McLaren go and do their own test right now and also pull out of the young drivers test. It's just inconsistent, very, very inconsistent what is going on in Formula One in terms of the FIA at present. Moving away from the world of Formula One, Sebastian Loeb has dominated the qualifying run for the Pikes Peak climb in his magnificent Peugeot. You've got to see this car. Hopefully we'll get some footage of it as well. But he completed a 5.1 mile qualifying run in 3 minutes 26.72 seconds. Listen to this, 23 seconds ahead of his closest rival. So quite extraordinary. Also looking away from the world of Formula One, this weekend it is the Cathedral of Speed. It is Assen. That is where MotoGP takes place. And for those who don't know, the MotoGP in Assen always takes place on a Saturday. So the guys are out on track today. Hopefully before 3 o'clock we'll have an update as to see who's quickest so far in free practice for MotoGP. But it looks as though Jorge Lorenzo has taken an early advantage in the Assen free practice. Yes, he was ahead of Cal Crutchlow, Marc Marquez, Rossi in 4th, Pedrosa in 5th. That's the latest in the world of motorsport this afternoon. Now, going back to Mark Webber. In 1999, Mark Webber was part of the Mercedes CLR GTR team. Now, you got to understand, Mercedes had just re-entered into Formula One, supplying engines to McLaren. Everything was going on. That they hadn't been in motor racing or in Formula One since 1955. And in a practice, in the warm-up, this is what happened to Mark Webber.
What happened yesterday evening in the dusk? Watch the silver car just coming into shot here. It took off, and there's no other word for it. The air got beneath the car. It flicked the car high into the air, and just look at the number of somersaults that the car did before going way, way over the Armco barrier and landing in the tree.
Landed in the trees there, of course, the Formula One commentator, Ben Edwards. Fortunately, everything was okay, and Mercedes immediately pulled out of the Le Mans race. And there were so many concerns that Mercedes were going to pull out of Formula One racing as well. Fortunately, nothing happened, and everything seems to be okay since then. But Mark Webber now going to be joining Porsche with the P1 next year in the LMP1 class. I think it is going to be extraordinary, and I wish him all of the best. He's been a great servant to Formula One, nearly won the championship with when him, Alonso and Vettel fought it out back in 2011. But didn't go his way. But I think Mark Webber is going to have a very strong end to his Red Bull career, and wish him all of the best.
At the next intersection, turn on
Gears with Sasha Martinengo.
weekdays from 12 to 2 p.m. Central African Time.